Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Taylor Jones. Do you have any, and I do mean any idea what time it is? If you don't, it's time for you to get prepared for season 7 of Cold Man's Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Taylor Jones, and I'd like to say welcome to the season 7 premiere of Cold Man's Winter on YouTube. For those that's wondering, what's going to be the first topic for this episode? Well, after what went down throughout my first 6 seasons, I decided that when it comes to doing YouTube videos, when it comes to living life at its best, it's a must. You have to remember that in real life, we all have to take a risk. So the question is, why aren't you taking a risk? Think about it. A risk is really, really important. And I will tell you why as I bring you taking a risk. Now, when it comes to taking a risk, people be questioning, what do you mean by that? For starters, forgive me, I'm on lunch. When it comes to taking a risk, you got to remember that people are relying on you to be responsible, to be honest, to be 100% worth what you were taught. Because mothers and fathers, they taught you to be responsible, respectful. Teachers did too. Police officers that remind you to slow down, especially when you get pulled over. To how to speak, especially when you're in courtrooms, like yes, Your Honor, no, Your Honor, and answer questions as in guilty or not guilty. You know, it's just a tough world that we're living in because a lot of risks have been taken too seriously, and others, they just like, you know what? What's the point of taking risks? I'm going to do what I want to. No, that's not exactly how it works, especially when God is watching your every movement. And you know why? Because when it comes to taking a risk, you have to be really serious about it. Like, you got to think about some things. Perfect example. When people compare hell and heaven to, let's just say, a price, like money-wise, what's free, what's not? But the question is, what about your soul? If hell is free, in heaven you have to pay with a price. What do you have to do? It's based on where you're going. So you need to set a prime example, a faithful example. But not only do you have to take risks based on your physical and spiritual needs, you got to be thankful to take risk when it comes to mental health. Like, for instance, I never thought I'd see the day that I was told that I'm suffering through depression and to take antidepressant pills just to calm my anger, trying to be more focused. But it ain't easy, but somebody's got to do it. Because in real life, you have to take a risk. You have to learn to say no to the past you and yes to the new you. Out with the old, in with the new. Because right now, we just fail to see how powerful life can be because we don't know who to thank. We could thank our co-workers, we can thank our parents, we can thank our teachers, all the people that work for the law, trying to put us in our place, especially when it comes to tough love. But when you take a risk, taking a risk is a big, big deal. So you better watch what you do, watch what you say. Because I just remember a long time ago, I brought up, like when I referenced an old VBS song, Vacation Bible School song that my church used to sing, based on the 5 senses. Because with these 5 senses, the Lord is still watching. Be careful of the eyes, what you see, mouth, what you say, ears, what you hear, hands, what you do, feet, where you go. Because there's a Father up above and He's looking down in love, so be careful. So will you take that risk? I know I would. Because I've been through a lot of sin. I've been through a lot of hardships. I've been through a lot of times when I lost my friends over some stupidity that I've caused, or the fact that I was not 100% seriously strong enough to stand up on my 2 feet and to fight back with words. Because, of course, people say words can hurt, but you got to take a risk. If you take a risk on what you say, how will people respond? If you had to take a risk with getting into a fight or chickening out, if you took a risk to be in a fight, to get involved, instead of being called a chicken, you'd like, if you took that risk, you would end up getting jumped. But let's say if you were the victor, that's because you decided to learn to fight. You have to have the biggest blow, the biggest punch, the biggest kick. Drop your enemies, but don't kill them. Because almost every time everybody wants to take advantage of you, and you got to take a risk on your own life. Because some risks, they're life-threatening. You better do this or else you die. Like, no, wait a minute. And even if they plan to take you out, you're on your knees after getting jumped, and your so-called friends, your crew, got mad at you for selling out or turning their backs on you, trying to get out the street life. They plan to take you out with a gun on your head, or even when you're blindfolded, and they ask you, any last words? Would you risk it? Because if I had my last words, if someone did that to me, I would say, Lord, forgive me, for I have sinned. Like, repent one last time. Because nowadays, if you say you're sorry while you're getting executed, that's a tough look, because not everybody's going to believe the sorry routine. But I do know one thing. Taking a risk like that is like, oh man, where do I go from here? I started this mess, I gotta end it. That's what led me back to referring that hell is free, it's cheap, it's free, and heaven is a price. It's kind of like when you're on YouTube, you have many choices. If you want adless videos, like no ads, no advertisements, you gotta pay the premium. Premium, there's a price. But if you want to see the video for free, you're gonna have to get through the ads, even if they're not skippable. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? It's hard to skip an ad while listening to YouTube videos while you're traveling. But sometimes it's best to focus on the road instead of watching YouTube videos, because distractions, it's like you're killing yourself. You're killing your risk. Too many risks. RISKS. Too much. But not enough. Not enough God, not enough sense of understanding, not enough wisdom, not enough peace, not enough love, not enough motivation, even when it's self-motivation. Because I could see around me, I've just thought about the people that I knew, the people that cared about me so much, even when I get on their nerves or they get on mine, we all have a risk. Is it risk to fight over each other? Is it a risk to tell the truth, no matter how blunt it is? Because I told you, tough love is a mother, but it's still a part of everyday life, everyday living. Because to take a risk, to risk or not to risk, that is the question. But the answer is based on our actions, what we believe in. I mean, perfect example. I have a cousin that is a powerful singer. She sings in her church. She sings when she's on Facebook doing live videos, but all of a sudden her motivation just went downhill. And everybody was so mad that Meta decided to get rid of the old live videos, even the old church videos. I mean, but my cousin, she took the risk. Because after 3 going on 4 years of making her last gospel cover, she's planning to release some new covers, gospel songs, and put it on platforms, including YouTube, knowing that she got a lot of energy left. 40-something years old, giving her energy to God because she's taking a risk to get back to the music thing, the gospel music thing. Just like I got myself back in order. Like I took a risk to bring you the long-awaited season 7 of Cold Man's Winter, because it's officially winter time and 2025 is coming to an end. So I got to get started somewhere, some way, somehow. And the time is now. So I have to take that risk. If you can take a risk, then do it. If your risk is to be a basketball star, to be a cheerleader, to be an actor, an actress, a mother, a father, a Christian, that is the number one risk you have to stick with. Now R. Kelly, he sang a song a long time ago, and in his chorus, he said, "This is my story, and I'm sticking to it, and I'm sticking to it." Well, if that's the case, then stick to what you say. Stick to telling the truth. Stick to the risk that you're trying to build. Because nowadays, risk don't mean hill of beans to some folks. And I'm not talking about the MAGA nation. No, I am not talking about the Make America Great Again crew. Not the racists. But anybody can be a bully. But bullies, they do have risks too. They got a risk. Some bullies will be wise enough and have so much remorse, guilt, that they know that being the cool guy, being macho, even the women, no matter what the race, no matter what gender, no matter what sexuality, no matter what religion, they got to remember. And even if they were called names like chicken heads, hood rats, and like the fellas we called sissies, jerks, punks, jocks, ballers, thugs, gangsters, bloods, crips, it gets out of hand every time you turn on the TV and you see the news anchor talking about somebody getting jumped to death or murdered from a drive-by shooting. Because some people, they take negative risks too. If there's a positive risk, there's also a negative risk. Besides every pro, there's a con. Besides every bad boy, there's a bad girl. And it's more than Bad Boy Records. I do know one thing. I've been taking a lot of risks that put me where I need to be. Back when I was young, those risks were a pat on the back, a kiss on the cheek from a mother figure, shaking hands with the fellow brothers and sisters in Christ at church, keeping your head clean, keeping your head straight, especially when you have to go to a haircut. keeping your grades up. But for a negative risk, you will end up getting whooped, a whipping. You get punished, like grounded. You're grounded to the fact that you can't even hang out with your friends. You can't even call your best friends. You can't even hang out. You can't even go to special events like school dances or proms. But you're going to murmur. You're going to yell. You're going to cuss yourself out when you look at yourself in the mirror. That is a stupid risk. Never let your stupidity get the best of you. Never let your anger get the best of you. Because when you risk doing stupid things, negative things, you're causing more controversy upon yourself that you're going to lead yourself to your own demise. Because remember, suicide has been one of the craziest things that's been going on, especially for everybody who's been dealing with mental health and depression. When was the last time I thought about suicidal thoughts? It's been too long. But I'm going to tell you why. Because I have been overreacting based on my troubles. We got to cease and desist overreacting. Cease and desist making negative risk. Because a negative risk can get you killed. A negative risk can get you locked up. A negative risk will get you to be all alone. Not just for relationships, like your lover leaves you because he or she does not want to deal with your Chicago Bull. You don't know when to change. And I've been through this situation too many times, but the risk is your own life. It's going to take more than saying you only live once, because I lost a lot of people. Had to bury some of my friends, families. Mourn for everybody. Even in the celebrity world, we mourn for our celebrities. That's why every time I do a New Year's episode, I always do a in memory of the following. Come to think of it, what would it be like if I lost my mom? What would it be like if I lost my dad? My own sisters and brothers? What is the risk in that? There is no risk. The risk is on them, on my own family members, based on the life that they live. But I too have to put my foot down. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a big risk, a big life, a big story to tell, a big album, a video game, a movie. Because bad risks, a negative risk, it leads to a game over. It leads to getting dropped from a label for bad record sales and controversy. It leads to angry parents.
Attention associates, customer needs assistance at the perfume case. Customer needs assistance at the perfume case.
Also, it leads to an angry mob. It leads to a lot of political individuals standing up, telling you that it's wrong and they're going to shut you down. But when it comes to making a risk, like for me, I'm at work coming up with my very first episode of Cold Man's Winter, because I know I'm running out of time, because I got to make a Christmas episode after this one is released. That's because I got to keep it moving. I got to keep it clean. Every time I be on YouTube and every time I put out my content, there's only one thing that's slowing me down, made me think. Copper. Is the video for kids? No. It's for everybody. Thank you. And when it comes to having content that people can relate to, what's the big risk in that? I tell you what the risk is. You're risking to save your YouTube channels from falling apart. Even after you lose a couple subscribers, you need to get back on focus. You need to learn to step up. You need to learn to build up your channel. Who knows what it would be like if I released a special on Cold Man's Winter, referring to, for instance, episode 100, the 100th episode special, like show you what I do for a living. But then again, I can't, because if you filmed and drove at the same time, you know how some insurance companies are always overly protected, and they point you. They deduct your points, your percentage, based on how much you are distracted while you're on the road, especially when you have to deal with a lot. You get your points deducted for calling with or without holding the phone, which I find hard to believe. Like, when you call somebody while you're driving, what made you think you're getting distracted when they have phone buttons on the steering wheel? It's still a distraction. I mean, some people don't wanna wait to call you. Made me think of when I had to bring up my flaw, when I was told driving can't text in from my road. And I made a rap song about it based on how disgusted, how disappointed I was, because I feel like I'm rushing. We gotta stop making that risk. I learned quick to stop making that stupid risk. Because if you make that risk, you're going to act a fool and get so mad that you're going to say things and do things you never will ever want to think about doing in the first place. Because remember, God's watching. So your responsibilities, your respect or disrespect, your mindset, mentally, physically, spiritually, and even financially, we have to take a risk. If I had to risk wasting money to buying anybody that I can rely on Christmas gifts or birthday presents, or just helping them out, that's on me. And if you want to fuss and fight at me, it's like, come at me, bro. No. You have the right, but at the same time, you are in the wrong too. Because I'm not the only one that's taking the risk to do something for the people that I care about. But even for the ones that I hurt, like one prime example, a Christmas card was given to an individual at church. But a few days later, the person said that he or she was offended. And then we took it outside. The person starts to get mad, ask questions, and the person out, and this is outside the church building, had to tell the truth. And the person that wrote the card said that he's trying to fix this. But there was nothing to fix. There's nothing to fix. I'm being yelled to get it together. It's obvious. You made the biggest mistake. The person who wrote the card made the biggest mistake, and then waltz in the car and argues with self, knowing that was a stupid risk. Because guess what? When it comes to doing something for people, sometimes you're taking your risk too far because you're doing things too sneaky. That's why some people don't want their information to be known. That's why some people live private lives. Would you risk living a private life? Would you risk living a public life? Would you risk telling the truth? Would you risk doing something right? And the same person that got offended, that person, let's just say that the person that wrote a card decided to make things right for a couple years later. This Christmas, the person who wrote the card decided to write another card to make up for Christmas from the year before or last Christmas, trying to see if if he or she is risking to make amends. But I know one thing about making the right decisions. That's a good risk. But nowadays, we just don't know how far a risk can take us. Yin and yang, good versus evil. Easy at the best. You learn good from bad, fair from foul, right from wrong. But never would I want to hear my mom sing a sad song. As in, my baby never hurt nobody, but he still got smoked at baby's party. This is more than we're all in the same gang. This is more than we are the world. This is more than meets the eye. And it's more than a Hong Kong film released in 1995 starring Jet Li called High Risk. Because the topic I'm talking about was based on that movie, but I remember that 20 years ago, my first time watching a Jet Li movie like that, High Risk, when the English dub version called Meltdown, which was released in 2001. But High Risk was 95, so 6 years later, Sony Entertainment released the movie with a new title based on the fact that it's a English dub version. And there was a bomber named the Doctor who was known for saying, "No risk, no reward." If I was in a situation where somebody called me and planned to get power by doing something stupid like terrorize the town and bomb anyone that gets in their way, just like Jet Li's character when he made the biggest mistake by saying cut the red wire, and the guy who was cutting the wire underneath the school bus where Jet Li's movie wife and the school kids were tied up in rope, and thinking that the bomb was already disarmed after cutting the red wire. But unfortunately, the bomb went from 1 second to 0, and the soldier that helped Jet Li disarm the bomb underneath the school bus exploded. So Jet Li lost his fellow soldier, his wife, and the school kids. But then 2 years later, after hardships, the same drama occurs. But this time, Jet Li, his character, had to deal with the same thing that got him confused in the first place. Because, the doctor, placed a bomb on a reporter after a jewel exhibit turned violent. Like almost all of the individuals that worked for the at the place, they all were gunned down, and hostages were killed too. But the doctor's crew, they all had to face their fate too. And when it comes to getting a phone call from the doctor, the same guy that told him no risk, no reward, Jet Li was so paranoid, so mad that the doctor is bragging, boasting, and gloating about it. But what he didn't know is that Jet Li, his character, was smart enough to realize that the bomb is not the choice of red versus blue, red or blue wire, because there was a metallic thread. So he tested the metallic thread, and the bomb was disarmed for good. No red, no blue. The bomb was disarmed Jet Li called and said, "This time you lose." The doctor didn't care because he felt like he still made it happen, made it good. But what he failed to realize is that Jet Li, while he was on the tower, he had a knife. And the same woman that the doctor placed a bomb on earlier in the film, she was bitten by a snake or a rodent, poisonous, and Jet Li used the knife to cut her open, try to get the poison out, and get help. And since she was okay because of him, the same knife that he used, he even admitted that after throwing it to the doctor, who ended up screaming, "You failed again." He didn't realize that that knife was already covered in snake venom, the poison. So Jet Li had his last saying, and he flipped the phrase "no risk, no reward" back to the doctor, who ended up dying from the poison that was spread after being stabbed in the arm, in the shoulder. But you see, taking a risk is not about revenge. Taking a risk is about seeing where you went wrong for the first time and how you can make it better for the second. Try not to make the same mistake again. Just like that gospel cover that I did last New Year's Eve, referring to the Soul Stirrers. Looking back over my life, I have seen where I caused a little strife, but now I know that I will never make the same mistake again. Looking back over my deeds, I've seen signs that a wise man heeds. Now I know that I will never make the same mistake. Looking back over my slate, I've seen signs where I caused a little hate. And now I know I will never make the same mistake again. For once my cup was overflowing and I gave nothing in return. But now that I'm getting older, oh, what a lesson I learned just from looking back. And that's what we have to do. When it comes to risk, we got to look back on the past sins and try to progress with brighter future, a brighter mindset. So remember, when it comes to taking a risk, you have to do it professionally, smart, wise, or in other words, no risk, no reward. With all that being said, that tears it. That is my first episode of Cold Man's Winter, the season 7 premiere, that is. And with all that being said, you got to remember that this is going to be the coldest winter yet. So, feel free to do the following: like, comment, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, TC Jones Edits, for more materials like this, Cold Man's Winter, and click the notification bell, and there will be more in stores. And the link to my last cover, the AI version, the AI cover of Nick Hustle's "I'm Letting Go of the Bull," will be in the description bar down below. And this episode, this season 7 premiere episode of Cold Man's Winter has been brought to you by none other than, you guessed it, Sweet Lady of the Week, where a female individual gets recognition. And this episode is dedicated for this sweet lady. I dedicate this one to Miss Ariana Thornton, my fellow co-worker. And also, this is dedicated to the memory, in memoriam of two female individuals, in memory of Miss Markia Humphrey as well as Miss Alyssa Bruno. And condolences to their families after losing their loved ones, because, like I said earlier, it's going to take more than just screaming out YOLO, you only live once, because this is a risk. To lose a friend, to lose a family, and to lose your mindset, it's like, where do you go from here? Just take it easy, because we all got to remember, we all have a destiny. We all have a day, a time of birth, a time of death. But you have to live your life on the right path. So like I said, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click the notification bell and there'll be more in stores. The link to my cover of an AI track, Letting Go of the Bull, will be in the description bar down below. And with all that being said, this is yours truly, Taylor Jones, signing out.